everybody. I am here with Kidd Bandit, the protagonist of pro wrestling.
Hello.
Why did you start wrestling?
Why? When I was younger, I used to play SmackDown versus Raw, which is it was the WWE game before they turned it into WWE 2K20, all that stuff. It used to be called SmackDown versus Raw, and I played it all the time as a kid. I only had one game. It was SmackDown versus Raw, and all my friends were into wrestling, but I couldn't really relate to them because I didn't have cable. But I knew how to talk to them about it because of the video game. So all I did was play the video game and stuff. And eventually, because I played it so much, I grew an attachment to it. And from there, I became, really entangled with wrestling. And, as time went by, I realized I think that's what I wanted to do. I never really wanted to choose a career where I have to sit in a desk. I wanted to perform, and I feel like wrestling is the ultimate performance art. So that's why I'm doing it right now.
Do you have any advice for someone who wants to become a pro wrestler?
Yes. Two things. Do it. And that's a weird thing to say, but a lot of people who want to get into wrestling world, they usually get faced with the problem of whether or not they should or shouldn't, because it is a tough journey and it's hard to start because it's hard to find places that will train you, but as soon as you get rolling, the other second piece of advice I could say is when things get tough, it gets easier when you have friends that support you. And that goes for not just for wrestling, but everything in life, so that's what my advice would be.
There is also the people that they get into wrestling because they have the time and patience. They think they have the patience, but then they get into day one and they start taking bumps, and then it gets too hard for them, and then they wimp out.
Yeah, that the bumps aren't easy. They'll never that go taking a bump in the ring, it goes against all forms of human preservation. Why would you slam your back or slam your face into a canvas, but you like this, you love this, and you have to hang on to your love for wrestling while you're doing the training. That way you don't fall out of love with your passion, as it were.
Which of your cosplays is your favorite to wrestle in?
To wrestle in, I've only really wrestled in Nero from Devil May Cry is a video game. I've never actually wrestled with the other cosplays I have. I'm planning on it, but not yet. If I was to pick a cosplay that I would love to wrestle in, I would definitely probably Samus, because it's breathable and stuff. So that might be it for me.
With the Samus cosplay, is it plastic with the armor, or is it metal?
It's like a bodysuit. It's like the Zero Suit Samus one. Yeah.
Tell me about your experience training at the Nightmare Factory.
Yeah. So you're a Cody fan, right? Okay. I am a big Cody fan. And I'm not gonna lie, one of the big reasons why I chose for further my wrestling training there is because Cody is my favorite wrestler. The experience there, it's I want to say a backstage meet and greet, but also you're learning the craft of wrestling. It's insane because I got to share the ring with some talent that I never thought I'd be able to share the ring with this early on in my career. So that helped me kind of not be so starstruck all the time. I still do. I still get very starstruck, but Cody is a great coach. He has a great mind for the business. QT also a very good coach. A lot of people like underestimate what he can do, but a lot of the stuff I learned from in wrestling, I learned through QT as far as like moves and stuff. So, or at least how I approach like creating new moves.
Yeah, because being trained with people like Cody and QT who have at least 30 years experience with wrestling must teach you a lot.
Yeah. Golly, it is about 3 decades of experience between the two of them. Yeah. Um, the best thing I learned from there is actually not in the wrestling aspect. I mean, I guess it is wrestling, but it's more in how you conduct yourself, online, backstage, all that stuff. How to navigate the industry. That's like stuff that you can't really teach people unless like they experience it. I'm lucky enough to have a combination of experiencing it fairly early on and at the same time learning how to handle that exposure via QT and Cody's like guidance. So definitely got lucky with them.
What is your favorite cartoon or anime?
Cartoon. I mean, I think the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy for cartoon. For anime, that's a rough question. I usually say Trigun because I really like that anime. Been getting back into Flame of Recca very recently, so that's another good anime I recommend a lot of people to check out.
I haven't watched very many anime. Like, I watched Madoka Magica with my sister. I watched One Punch Man. I watched like the first 2 seasons of My Hero Academia. And I remember, and I've watched a couple of the Studio Ghibli, if you can count that as anime.
That counts, absolutely.
But I would say my favorite anime thing that I've watched is either Spirited Away or One Punch Man.
Yeah, those are good. They definitely have a very good Western appeal as well because One Punch Man, it came out right at the dawn of like Avengers and stuff, so everybody was like all about the superhero hype. And then right after that, you have Spirited Away, which at the time Disney actually syndicated that one, so it would be under like the Disney banner. Not anymore, but back then it was.
And then also The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy is also really good.
Yeah, it's old now, but it definitely aged well considering all the messed up things that was in that show.
Yeah, I've watched like 5 episodes with my sister, and it's really good from what I've seen.
Yeah, and they're all free now, which is incredible. I remember having to pay for that.
Who would be your dream opponent?
Oh, well, I have 2 that I could think off the top of my head. First one is your shirt right there. Second one is my shirt right here. So makes it easy for
Nyla Rose and Cody?
Yep.
They are both really nice.
Very nice. Not in the ring, but they're outside the ring. Very nice.
What anime or video game character would be the best tag team partner and why?
Best tag team partner. Well, the joke answer is Light Yagami as my tag team partner. Because if you think about it, if you're in a wrestling match and you're being introduced, they say your name, they say where you're from, and you got Light Yagami in your corner, and he's like writing down their names on the death note, writing down all their names in the death note and stuff. The only downside to that is if your opponent is a masked luchador, or if they're not using their real name as their ring name. Not 9 times out of 10, you could Google their real name, but if they're a luchador and their name isn't like public knowledge, then that's the downside. But then that's why you got me. I'll handle the luchadors,
The easiest way to win a match would probably be having Goku in your corner.
that would be the easy way out, or like maybe Saitama. But I like the idea of like just winning the match because Light Yagami wrote their names in the Death Note while they're being introduced.
What do you like to do for fun?
I sleep. I play video games. I read a lot of novels lately, so definitely been reading a lot, and I think that's one of the most fun things I've been lucky to get into lately.
There's a game that I legitimately just played like 6 months ago, but I really want to play it again already. And it's Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Best game on the Switch easily.
Yeah, next time you see Cody, let him know because he is a big Legend of Zelda fan.
Who are your inspirations in pro wrestling?
Oh, now we're gonna talk about Cody Rhodes again. So let me say stuff that's not Cody related. In wrestling, I patterned a lot of my moveset after people like Rob Van Dam, Jeff Hardy. You may not have heard of him. Steve Blackman, from the Attitude Era. Glacier, from WCW. Very more recently, Speedball Mike Bailey is a big inspiration for me. Someone like Ninja Mac, who I have a very that's not similar, but we do pull from the same stuff. You know, I like look up to their like stuff. Jason Kincaid is a really good influence. Mustafa Ali, definitely been like, you know, following their Instagram feed and just watching them go through like some of their stuff. It's very enlightening and very educational. So as a student of the game, it's your task, I think, to always have a good a good archetype to pull from, but making it original in your own. So those are the people I've been looking up to recently.
All of those people that you just listed are legends or legends to be. So it is a really smart idea to be pulling out of their move sets because their move sets are going to be one of the most famous of all time in a sense.
Yeah, and that's the struggle too, is because these are iconic wrestlers. I have to kind of figure out a way to differentiate myself from them while also making it very blatant that yes, I am influenced by these people. Yes, I do a lot of kicks very similar to Mike Bailey, but I make it different by adding my own twist or spin to it. Now, whether that be a literal twist or spin, or whether that is like a metaphorical twist or spin, is like up to like how I feel by the day. But definitely trying to create something in wrestling is not as easy as there's so much to pull from. But being able to be original, I think that's that's the struggle in wrestling nowadays.
That is very much true because almost every single move you can think of has been thought of and done in a sense. So you need to take some of those moves and put your own spin on them, like how Cody does the cutter, but he bounces off the ropes first. That was his own little spin to it.
Yeah, absolutely. In my case, a lot of my arsenal that, you know, everybody says I'm very innovative. I like to think I am. I create my own moves, but a lot of those moves that I do come up with, they're variations of moves that already exist. There are a couple that I know I've never seen before, which I'm very proud of. But for the most part, everything in wrestling is everything new in wrestling is a variation of something that's been done before.
What do you want the future of wrestling to look like?
I want it to be less toxic. Definitely, and this is a controversial opinion, I want kayfabe to be handled better. I don't want it to, like, the illusion of everything is real is still very much important to me because it protect the business and stuff like that. But because from my experience, a lot of people have abused kayfabe to the point where they cover up a lot of like very bad things in the industry. They, you know, people back then would take secrets to their grave because they wanted to protect the business, and that's unfortunate. The whole mentality of the show first before a wrestler's health, I want that to change. I want wrestlers to be able to say no without like fear of repercussion. And I like to think AEW being progressive like that definitely helped push that mentality throughout the entire industry, to the point where I think WWE also started picking up the same kind of mentality of like, oh, like, okay, if AEW, our top competition, is treating their talent a certain specific way, then we should probably be the same. So that's my thoughts and process about that.
Who is Kidd Bandit, and why should my viewers get to know you?
Well, Kidd Bandit is the protagonist of professional wrestling, and for context, I am writing my own journey in this business, in this industry, where I plan to emulate a lot of like the shonen animes and stuff. Definitely trying to be better, not just as a wrestler, but as a human being. And everything I do is kind of a learning tree process that I like to share for everyone to see. I may not win all the fights, I may not win all the hearts, but I will win at the end because I will stay true to myself as I continue this journey. That was actually really good. I should write that down.
That's the end. Thanks for the interview.
Of course. Thank you for having me.